Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jacqueline from RISA HQ. We have a special guest host today, Christine Rae with CSP. She's going to be doing our Newbie webinar today.
Okay, thank you, Jacqueline. This was an education on how to use this webinar jam thing, but hopefully everything is going to work well. And as Jacqueline said, I'm the president of CSP International Staging Training Academy. So I'm excited to do this with you, and hopefully I can answer all of your questions. All right, we have a lot of questions tonight, so we've got about half a minute for everyone, I think. What is the benefit of having your own furniture for staging versus renting? Okay, well, renting, obviously, you're not incurring any costs, no overlay. You don't have to have a warehouse. And I would say the benefit of having your own furniture is that you're able to respond more quickly. It's a completely different staging model or business model, because your job is to make sure that that furniture you have that you've invested in is actually out and earning you money. Next question, what would you recommend to someone just starting in the business to use as staging furniture and decor? Rental furniture or invest in an inventory? Well, if it's for furniture, I would say rent. If you've got a perfectly great rental source nearby, that's what I would recommend. And inventory for accessories and small furnishings, things like lamps or art, I would probably do that myself, because that is an income stream. But if you have someone that's a provider and you can get everything in one stop, the challenge with that is that everybody's staging starts to look the same and you might not have much selection. And the other challenge is, delivery. You're at the mercy of the people who have the delivery trucks. Whereas if you have your own furniture, you can respond a little differently. Do most people take out a business loan to buy furniture? I gather you need to be able to fill an entire house or two before you start marketing yourself as a stager. Well, I don't know who told you that, but I can't speak for the whole of the industry, but I would say our recommendations when I teach is that you don't get a loan. You buy pieces job by job as they come along. If you've got access to a good rental source, you don't need to buy furniture at all. If you don't have access to furniture rentals, then you buy as you get a job. And you don't buy anything until you get a job, unless you have lots of money and that's the way you want to start. But most people don't, and I certainly wouldn't recommend it, because you were under stress right from the beginning. Build the business. I know what you're going to say is, how can you get business until you have furniture? So I think you have to sort of look, it's a fine line to balance it. Start building your business, get some jobs under your belt, work with the furniture rental company, get some experience, look at how all of that flows, and then see whether or not it's a fit for you. Because it's not for everybody. It's a whole different kettle of fish. What's the best way to get new clients? How do you get business? Do you reach out to local realtors and offer them your service? And how should I be contacting realtors? Well, honestly, you need to know how to sell. The number one fear of stagers, I find, is making cold calls. And the number one challenge of stagers is setting up that initial meeting. If you're in business, and you need to be in business, not looking at it as a job, when you first start out, you should be at least 2 hours a day prospecting. And yes, realtors are your number one prospect. But what you have to remember about realtors is that they're commissioned salespeople. So they put a lot of money into getting their license, and they have to every single day prospect. They're not sitting there waiting for you to come along. So if you are going out there, you should be able to answer the question, why should I hire you? Why should I hire you now? Like, what's different about you? And if you're new, you should be able to articulate your value. You need to be face-to-face. I think, you're consistently making cold calls, because research shows you more prospects, more meetings will result of that. Usually we say about 1 to 3%. So if you talk to 100 people, you'll get 3 qualified leads. You need to get sort of 8 emails to get one response. You'll need to make 11 phone calls before you get one response. And you got to remember, more than 55% of people who are able to hire you are doing a search on the internet themselves. So the best way to get business is referral. You need to know how to make a cold call. You need to know how to leave a compelling voicemail. You need to know how to write a compelling email. You should be on a social network. And you need to have a face-to-face networking opportunity with real estate agents. In the United States, you have Women's Council of Realtors. Many states and cities have realtor associations. And then you need to be able to leverage your credibility and know how to overcome objections. So I would say if you can't do those things, you shouldn't be approaching real estate agents. I've been in business about a year, and I'm still having trouble with pricing for vacant projects. My clients are generally investors and realtors, and they're all on a tight budget. Listen, the world is on a budget. You need to make money. And if I can give any advice, it's like start off with profit first. Your profit margin is crucially important in order to build a business. You're not earning a wage, you're building a business. So there has to be enough money in what you charge to pay yourself, cover your expenses, and make a profit. Just like real estate agents, when they get their commission, they've got to pay all kinds of expenses, and they should not be the ones paying for staging. So I don't know what the trouble is pricing for vacants, but believe me, you're not alone. Anybody, sellers, investors, builders, realtors, they all want it to do for cheap. And that's because they're not understanding what's at stake. And what's at stake is the sale of that property and the equity that's in it. What's the best way to market yourself as a stager if you don't have a lot of experience? Well, I think I just sort of covered that. You need to know how to sell. And one of the things I can tell you, about sales is it takes a lot of connections. It's not just one thing. There are multiple touch points. And generally, we say in sales that you need about 7 to 20 consistent marketing messages in various ways to actually get somebody's attention. And when you have somebody's attention, you have about 6 seconds to say something to keep them listening to you. So, if you haven't practiced that, if you don't know what to say when you're in front of someone, conducting that first conversation can literally put you back 100 years. So consistency and persistence and confidence, it's no matter what you're selling, whether you're selling apple pies or staging, you have to be measuring the results of what it is that you do. If you go to a networking meeting, do you have an approach? Do you know what to say? Do you know how to work a room? Do you know how to get the business card? Do you know what to do with the business card? Do you have a client retention management program? Because it takes multiple touch points to be able to get that first customer. How can I brand myself in a competitive market? And how do you recommend initiating the marketing of your service when you're an unknown? Well, all the things I've said, first of all, I don't think you have to work on a brand. They're not going to buy a brand. They're going to buy the solution to a problem that they have. And the thing about people in general, sellers, agents, they don't know that they have a problem. They don't know that working with you is going to solve the problem. So when you're approaching someone to sell them something, you've got to be driven by the solution to the problem that they have. And you have to have that conversation. You can't just say, hey, I'm a stager and I'm open for business. Give me a try. It's not something that you can muck about with. I think staging is a very responsible job. Very responsible. I would suggest you read a book called Building a Story Brand so you can clarify your message so that customers will listen to you. How do you go about hiring your first employee or any help? And talk about how you pay them. Well, are you meaning somebody to work with you on your job, help you stage or help you in your office. There's going to be some variations there, correct? So I would say you place an ad, you do reference checks. I would avoid working with people that like friends and family, although I know many people who worked with their daughter and they've got a mother-daughter team going and it works really well. Depends on that. And you pay them fairly. You don't try to get them cheaply. I don't know where you live, but there's a minimum sort of point. Are they trained? Are you going to pay for training? Do they have to come to you trained? There's so many parameters around hiring. But I would definitely say you need a contract, an employment contract. And I would say that if you go to the RISACon, you learn a lot of information from the speakers. They usually are doing something about how to hire, how to build your warehouse out. There's some great information. So plan on going to RISACon. Is there an easy formula to follow for charging? How do I price a home where people are living in it? How did you get to your hourly rate is what I would say to you, because your hourly rate is made up of three primary things. How much you are going to make, sort of your pay, how much your expenses are, and then how much your profit's going to be. And if you think about how many hours do you have to sell, if you were doing a 40-hour week, you have about 2,000 hours that you can sell. So your rate that you're charging needs to be able to compensate you well and leave you with profits to be able to build your business. When you start out, 75% or 100% of your time is non-billable. And as you build business, there'll probably always be about 20 to 25% of your hours that are not billed out. Those are things that you have to do when you go back into the office. So that leaves you with about 1,300 to 1,500 hours. So if you multiply that by whatever it is you're charging, is that enough? Because you've capped out. Unless you're going to build a team, how are you going to make more money? And how do you price a home where people are living in it? You're going to figure out how much time it's going to take you to do the showcasing, the part where you move the furniture and hang the art, and you'll have to do that room by room. Generally, it's going to take two people an hour to do one major room. So if you were doing a living room, for instance, it's usually, 1 hour, two people. But it will depend on the size of the house and what you have to do in those sort of things. It's your cognizant ability when you look at the job to say, okay, this is only going to be half an hour, or this is going to be 10 minutes. And you add it up. And then you multiply it by your rate. Looking to take the next step as a stager. So what is the best option? A warehouse or a storage unit, and what other things need to be considered? And I think this is like a half a day seminar, but quickly, I would say to you, it will depend on what your business plan is for developing your business. If you have a few accessories and you don't intend to service vacant properties by buying furniture, then a storage unit will probably be great. But if you have more than a few things and you are looking at warehouse space, then I would say whether it's storage or warehouse, you need to think about what will your business be in 3 years. Don't buy for space for what you are right now, buy for where you're going. And then you sort of also have to figure out the cost of that you can address them. And I think the best tip I can give you in terms of locating a warehouse and storage units are to make sure that they're as close to your house as possible. I always remember Todd McAllister saying this. It's like the worst thing you can do is have to have an hour's drive to your warehouse before you start a job, and then an hour at the end of the day before you get home. So you might have to pay more money because it's closer to where you live, but it's worth it. Another thing to consider is, can you buy a property that's close to where you are? Can you make part of it an apartment that you could rent out. And then the rest of it is for your storage and your business, so that you've got some money coming in covering the capital costs of that property. And then as you get bigger, you might go into a warehouse situation, but you can then rent the bottom part of that house as well. There's lots of things to be considered. You definitely want security. You want air conditioning and heat in the winter. You want high, so you can do a 2-tier warehouse, so you can do a mezzanine. I would say doors where you can put back your truck up so that you can lift up that roll top door and just put things right onto the truck. Yeah, I know that. I believe that there's somebody doing a really good presentation on that at RisaCon too. Oh my God. Well, yes, get all your documents notarized by a lawyer. Absolutely. But a contract should include, contract is a legal document, so it should lay out very clearly in very easy to read language, what is the scope of project, who you're working for, who you are, who you're working for, what the address is, the scope of project, what's going to get done, how much you're charging, and how they need to pay you. And then in your clauses are all the things that are important to prevent and protect you, to prevent fallout. So things like no pets, that the house is free from vermin and insects would be important, that you get the final choice on all the selection and placement, that you have a cancellation fee. I think we have like 35 clauses in our contract. So you need help to put a contract together. I think I heard Shell say at one point that there was something on the RISA site, like a blanket contract. Do you ever contract with the realtor to get paid at closing? I can honestly say I never did. I know that there are some people that do it. The jeopardy is that what if there isn't a closing? What if the house never sells and you'll never get paid? That's the jeopardy. There's no need for it. We've already set precedent in our industry. Those of us who have been working, for 15, 20 years at this, you don't need to change the format. It works. They pay up front. That's the way it goes. So I know that other services don't really contract with a realtor to get paid when the house closes. And should I offer free services? No, absolutely not. Ever, never, ever. There is no value in free. Remember that. And what it does is screw up the industry for the people who've been working for 15 and 20 years, who are, who've laid the trail for you to be able to be in this industry. Just because we're a non-regulated industry, you need to be self-regulated about how you charge. You can't just roll over and say, okay, yes, we'll do it for free, we'll do it for cheap. That is not good business practice for longevity. Do I charge for the furniture rentals and my commission together or separate? So I'm going to sort of divide this question in that if the furniture rental is coming from an external source, you're at Court or Brook or somewhere like that, that facility will have a contract with your client. My recommendation is that you don't take payment for furniture rental that you don't own, because then you are responsible for it and you have no control over it because it's not your house. If the furniture is yours, then yes, you would take them both together. Do you require a 50% deposit and the rest upon completion? No. I would ask for 100% upfront. And if you are going to do a split payment for whatever reason, you would want to be paid at 7 a.m. on the morning of the day of install, the morning of the day before install. So if you were going to do the install tomorrow, Friday, at 7 o'clock this morning, you would have been running the credit card. And 7 o'clock, because people are still at home, and if it's declined, you can call them and get another credit card. Clients tell me that I charge too much and they go with a cheaper option that usually offers minimal services and poor home staging. What can I do? You need to be able to learn how to sell your value, right? And give them options. There's always, I mean, you got to think about anything that we buy. There's Chief Coffee and there's Starbucks. Why do people buy Starbucks? You know, you can say, well, it's a better coffee. Well, McDonald's has pretty good coffee. Why do people pay $5 for it? All the time. Cars. You know, you can get a car for $2,000 and you can pay $250,000. Why do they do that? Lawyers, you know, anything at all. You can get a cheap airline flight or you can pay for business class. You've got to be able to stand up and talk the value of why you charge. You don't charge too much. Other people, and that's really your answer. You know, you don't have a problem with what anybody else charges. You certainly know, or they certainly know what they're worth. You then got to put the support to it. And, you know, I would say track some of the jobs that those cheap stagers have done and see what sort of results. Are they sitting on the market? Do they actually get sold? Do they get multiple offers? And also bad market your results. This is what you get when you work with me. I thought it said I blow up mattresses. I use blow up mattresses, but I've had issues and box frame mattresses are too heavy and take up too much room. Any good bed brands or alternates? I would say never use a blow-up bed because they're all going to collapse. I know that someone that I know uses Coleman. They usually stay up for a couple of weeks, but they'll always lose air. Diane Hamill, who's going to be one of the speakers at RisaCon, she says Sinus, S-I-N-U-S, bed frames and a box spring. They're collapsible. They're available online. And she said the same thing. Don't bother investing in blow-ups because it's not worth it in the end. What is the best way to hang art on a wall without hammering or drilling large holes into the wall? Well, I have this vision of this great big hole going on the wall, of course. But there are tools out there. You can use heavy-duty wall hangers. You can use wall respectors. Don't use command strips because they fall off the wall and they rip the thing. So I would say you've got to do some research on that. Actually, somebody just put it in a, oh, I don't have it handy. Hang on 1 second, I can lean and get it. Somebody recommended these and I just got them today. If I can open up the packet while we're talking, I can tell you what they're called. And I got them on Amazon. Oh, wouldn't you know, they don't have a flipping name on the box. But I can look it up and tell you. I can get it to Shell and she can send it out to you. But it looks interesting. I think you have to just go into one of those groups and ask for people and they'll give you the names of really good places. Okay, had a realtor reach out. He wanted my portfolio and some multiple listings to see my work. I have not had any official work yet. And I referred him to my website. So I'm presuming that you've done some, yeah, monkey hooks. That's what everybody's saying, monkey hooks work. The beauty of monkey hooks, of course, when you destage, you can take them out of the wall, reuse them again, and the tiny, tiny little holes. Okay, so he is a high hitter and very seasoned. How do I get him to hire me since I'm so new? I'm afraid he won't be interested in my company. I would say that he's not going to hire you because he would have already. You know, if your website doesn't sort of replicate the brand that he currently has curated, he's probably put a lot of years into building that. and he isn't going to hire you, or else he would have already. And so you now have to say, what can I do so that this doesn't happen again? What did I do well? How did you get that call? How did he find you? I always do three things. What went well? What could I have done better? How am I going to make sure that happens? So are you happy with your website? Are you happy with your photos? Have you done your due diligence? Do you know how he found you? And then you have to start marketing to him over a period of time. Generally, people who don't work with you initially, if you keep them in the loop and you keep them on your CRM, they'll work with you. 84% of them will work with you within 2 years. You've really got to sell your education, your integrity, before your experience sells you. It's a big question. It's a process. So I would go back to find out, how did he find you? And then you look at your portfolio, and is it a good replication of the kind of work that he would expect? I mean, if he's selling $15 million houses and you've moved a few things around in your own house, it's not comparable. And I think if you're new, you shouldn't be going after the luxury market. It's not a place for you to practice your skills. I go back to, it's like you're looking for business, you have to prospect. I know that the most effective way of reaching prospects are by referrals, but telephone, group meetings, trade shows, email campaigns, they all work, but they take time. And I think that's one of the things that many stagers don't realize. When you open a business, you're in sales. I know you love to do the decorating side of things, but you're in sales. If you don't know how to sell, how are you going to get business? Prospecting is your job every single day, face-to-face networking. And know that you have to have a multiple touch system, and you'll have to reach out at least 5 times or more to get that first meeting. So getting that first meeting is your key, and it's going to take time. And getting prospects to respond to you is probably the second biggest challenge that we have. But if you have an organized system, it will fill in for you. People are afraid of picking up the phone because what do I say? Right? That comes back to, have you recorded your voice? Do you know what to say on a voicemail? You can practice those sort of things. And always saying to yourself, would I hire me? Would I hire me? I know you're great and all the rest of it, but real estate agents, they set their goals and they say, okay, I'm going to do 100 leads a month. And I'm going to do that by my website, daily Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram. I'm going to write blogs. I'm going to get a link to my website. I'm prospecting, so I'm going to block the time off for that. I have to work on my scripts. I need to know what I'm doing. You can role play with people. And then doing direct mail, write out your mailers. Postcards work really well as well. But they're always looking for prospects. Always. That is your number one job when you start as a stager. Before you'll ever get a job, you have to know how to do it. I always think of entrepreneurship as living a few years of your life like most people won't, so that you can spend the rest of your life like most people can't. And it takes work. It takes work. Okay, where is that next little question thing? Oh, have we answered all the questions then? So this is a really big hint. You need to get training. That's really what for people who are in the training business, it's very frustrating to have a lot of people out there in cyberland who are struggling. when we know the solution is you need to get training. You need to have a solid foundation. Real estate agents can't be real estate agents until they've been trained. And then when they come out, they still have to keep taking classes. They have to practice their scripts. They have to pay for marketing. They have to pay desk time. They have to pay for all their signs. They have to pay for all those things that print off when you look at when you tour a house, photographs. The last thing that you need to be paying for is staging. There's tons of them out there. I know that people like, God, is it Pipeline for a CRM? It's only about $10. We have our own that we give to our graduates that comes with their training. So I can't make that available to you, but I think Pipeline is a really good one and it's not expensive. Gee, I didn't think that we'd get through all of those so quickly.
All right, everybody. If anyone has any questions for Christine, go ahead and put them in that box. We do have a little extra time, so we can try and answer some questions on the fly if you have any. Otherwise, we will go ahead and kind of close up. So we'll wait a few minutes, just see if we get any questions. All right, let's see. Lena Haddad asked if there's any suggestions for a good inventory system. Christine, did you have any suggestions on that?
Well, we have two that are created by stagers for stagers, and both of them have been blessed by RISA, My Darby, and Stage Force. So I would say you need to research those. I've received a message from a mortgage company asking me to teach a class about staging to a group of realtors. Yeah, I think that, you can't be a RISA Pro.
Okay. Well, if you would like to talk about the RISA approved instructor program, you can go ahead and email me at jacqueline@risa-hq.org, and we can go ahead and talk more about that. I know you haven't been in the business for a whole year yet, but we can kind of look at that and see what we can do and if we can help you out until you're at that point.
Okay. Bottom line is, don't give the farm away.
Yes, do not. That is
you tell them what they need, but not how to do it.
Exactly. You make them realize that they need stagers because there's no way they could do all of these things on their own.
Well, there are ways, and that's because they're not busy. They need to focus on getting busy. Can you repeat the email?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and type it into the chat box for you.
Okay, so Monica wants to know what's the difference between accredited training and affiliated training. Do you want to take that one, Jacqueline?
Yeah, so accredited training versus affiliated training, the main difference is just that an accredited trainer has paid to go through our accreditation process. We do look at both the affiliate and accredited trainings courses. We do our due diligence. We've worked with all of them. They're all amazing. The only difference is that the accredited trainers have done that extra step to where they give us full access to their entire course catalog. They let us look at their personnel structure, and we do go through a pretty rigorous accreditation process where we look into everything to basically just make sure it's on the up and up. So the big differentiating is that those trainers have just taken that next step, kind of like the difference between being a RISA and a RISA Pro. It's just really taking that next step in your business and really committing to it.
Well, I know that there are federal guidelines about what constitutes accreditation. And that's one of the things that you look at, in terms of content and curriculum and process, and also the abilities to deliver the program.
Yes. So
we have, I know for us, we have a true certification program, but there's, in terms of affiliate, I'm not quite sure what that meant myself, actually.
So basically all that it is saying is that the accredited trainers have actually shown us that they reach all of those required things to be accredited. The affiliate trainers are more so just ones that we've worked with in the past and we can recommend to people, but we have not actually gone through and made sure that they meet all of the requirements.
In terms of educational components.
Exactly, because you have to look at things about cancellation policies, refund policies, personnel structure, how the class is offered, what the course entails, what you're getting out of the course, and if you're living up to that, how you handle criticisms and things like that when you have complaints filed. Whereas the affiliate trainers, we do not look into any of that for them.
Got it. Okay.
All right. So
cutting in and out. It must be your end that's cutting in and out. And I think you've said you're sending them a recording, right?
Yes. So there will be a recording of this sent out to your emails 2 hours after the live webinar is done. So you'll get that about 6:45 Pacific Standard. And then it'll also go up on our YouTube channel next week if anyone misses it. Looks like we got a few last minute questions. Let's see. Christine asked, what qualities do you think realtors value most in stagers to help us in our cold calls to them?
Well, of course, every realtor is different, but I would say, you know, when I look at sales in general, what people value is that you take the time to educate them and they want their perspective changed. So you need to know how you know, what they currently think and believe so that you can find a route through that. What do you know about staging? What have you done about staging? What's your experience with staging? And find those things out first before you can say, here's a different perspective. And you might also want to look at how you can help them. That's really the key thing. I mean, you want somebody who's a collaborator, who's going to support them, who's going to provide value to them, who's going to be an extension of their brand, you know, that they're proud of. And you want them to be introducing you. You know, the people who are serious about their work, professional real estate agents, they've spent a long time building their reputation. So if they're going to refer you, they will have had to have done due diligence with you to make sure that you're not going to let the side down if you're coming on their team. You know, whether you're coming in officially on their team or whether it's a referral sort of thing. They take their role seriously, and you should too. So they will want to interview you. They'll want to know, what do you say if something happens, and you know, how are you going to present the services? How are you going to tell the people that they need to make changes? Right? The last thing that I would say the big thing that they worry about is, you know, are you going to say something that will really tick off that client and they lose their client? That would be the big thing. So what is that? I've been struggling with deciding on a website. I missed that part. Went down there. I want to do it myself. Can you? Catherine, I cannot help you on that. What do they call the free site thing that everybody's using now?
I know that there's a few different ones, but WordPress has some
free.
WordPress,
I think it is, that everybody does it.
Yeah, WordPress is pretty good. They've got lots of templates.
My thing is, this website, you're going to struggle with it. Why would you not hire somebody who knows how to do that? You know, because it's going to represent your brand. And, you know, you're going to be in business. So you can't be all things. What you're trying to do is be a graphic artist and a web designer, like a real estate agent's trying to be a stager. You know, you hire people to do the things that you don't know how to do it. In my opinion, anyway. Okay, what do you tell a realtor when they say the house will sell itself and they don't need it staged? What can I do to say to the pros and cons? God, don't you just love those people? Okay, well, maybe it's a hot market, and that's why they think the house will sell themselves. Maybe it's location. Like, why do they think that? That's what I would say. What is it about this house that you think will sell itself? And if it will sell anyway, and you can see that the condition is in need of enhancement, then how much more money would they get if it looked and felt better? I actually wrote an article about that. I think you guys printed it. Something about how staging helps real estate agents. So if Jacqueline, do I send it to you and you could send it out to them, or?
Yeah, if you want to send it over to me, I can go ahead and send it out with the replay video that's going to go out in a few hours.
Yeah, I wrote it for the magazine, so I'm got it in a PDF format. You could send it to them.
Yep, perfect.
Okay, so I'm feeling like I want to order new furniture versus rent. The client is paying money anyway. Why is paying $10,000 for new furniture versus rental not better? I'm not following that question, Laura. Sorry. You want to order new furniture? Okay, then go do it. The client is paying money anyway. So why is paying $10,000 for new furniture versus rental not better? I mean, you've got to outlay the $10,000, and then you have to rent it out at least 5 or 6 times to be able to pay for it. So do you have the volume of work? You got that one client. What if it sells in a week, and now you've got to store that furniture and find other jobs to put the same furniture into? Monica said, I'm a realtor and I have a BS in interior design, so staging seems like a natural fit. What do you recommend regarding staging my own listings? I have to be honest, Monica, I would recommend that you don't, because decorating, interior design, and staging are 2 different things. And I know you're a real estate agent, but there's a fine line between being a real estate agent and what you can tell a client to do, generally. So I think, don't muddy the waters and hire a professional. Okay, so somebody is saying that people love Wix to do your own site. Catherine, you were looking for something, WIX. How many stagers have a real estate license? I'm in the process of taking the North Carolina exam so that I can have access to MLS. How do you think real estate agents will view working with me as a stager? Well, I would say, Carol, that I know many. I don't know, I couldn't give you a number or what percentage of people do that. But having access to listings and being able to connect with real estate agents, many people have found that to be advantageous. As long as when you're working with real estate agents, you are telling them that you are not working as a real estate agent. You're building a staging business and that you only have a license to be able to access the MLS. So I don't see any reason why they wouldn't work with you. So Susan's saying the easiest way to sell the value of staging is to show them. Put together a photo album, showing a house a flipper purchased. 3 months later, the flipper put it back on the market. So what you're showing them is results, right? They put it back on the market, 300,000 more after some painting and staging. But if they don't have that sort of experience, they need other support. Third-party influence is really important. Yes, I agree with you.
Okay, guys, if we have any last questions, go ahead and put them in there. Otherwise, we will thank Christine so much for coming on and helping guest host this week since Shell couldn't make it. So if you have a last-minute question, go ahead and slip it in there really quick. Put it in the chat box. We'll wait just a moment to make sure we haven't missed anybody's. But I think we covered all of the questions that were sent in. And it's looking like...
If somebody has any questions afterwards, that occurs to them, if they want to send me an email.
Yeah.
Certainly can. Christine@stagingtraining.com. I'm new to RESA. Are the trainings on screen for RESA members to take courses? You got to answer that one.
I'm new to RESA. Are the trainings on the screen for RESA members to take courses? The training providers on the screen are independent training providers. They are on our website, so you can get a little bit more information on them. That way you can decide which one is the best way for you to go to. You are not required to take training to be a RISA member, but we do highly recommend it. So I would definitely suggest going to our website and taking a look at those training providers. And then I will go ahead and send Christine's email address out in the follow-up with that article she's going to send me, as well as the replay. And then you guys should get that in a few hours. Thank you so much for coming on, Christine. It was very, very informative, and I'm very happy that you were able to help us out today.
Well, good. Thank you for asking me. I'm going to send you our logo because you have our old logo up there.
Oh, I apologize about that. Yep, send that over to me now. Change it out.
Alrighty. Thanks, everybody.
Have a good night.
Did you do the polls?
Oh, let's see. All right, guys, let's see. I'm going to put up a few polls for you guys to do if you want to fill those out before you log off. That would be awesome. We just want to kind of get a gauge on where people are at. Okay, so have you had any staging training? It looks like we've got about 75%, 80% that have. That is awesome. Oh, fluctuating a little bit more now. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like we're sticking at about 65, 70%. So that's a good number. We'd really like that to be 100. I mean, you really can't say anything bad about going and getting yourself more training. It is one of those things where every regulated industry in the country has to have consistent training every year. So we should really try and hold ourselves to that same standard. So if you are looking for training, even if you think you're not in a space right now where you can afford some training, I would definitely look into it. There are different training providers at every level, but remember, you do get what you pay for. So I would definitely go to the RISA site, go to the education tab, and you can look under staging training, get more information. So let's see, it looks like everyone.
I think you have to also look at perspective. The questions that you've all been asking, if you are trained, you should go back to your training provider and ask those questions because they should have been taught to you. But I think the message is, if you're coming into this industry and you want to work with the biggest investment that most people have, you owe it to the people that you want to work with and for that you are trained. It's not a hobby. You know, I don't want to be a, Dolly Downer or whatever you call it, but I mean, that's really true. You don't get any people who are just trying to be realtors. They have to be realtors.
Okay. And
then the other responses?
Let's see. Let's go ahead and. Okay. Let's see. Next poll is anyone attending RISACon? That is our national convention in Vegas. We hold it every year. Christine Rae is always there. She usually gets the spot near the stage, so you can always see her. It takes place this year from July 25th to July 27th. It starts on a Thursday. We have a industry cocktail hour where you come in, you can meet all of the exhibitors, you can network, followed on Friday and Saturday by sessions all day long. We have so many great people speaking this year. I mean, Diane Hamill, we've got Bobby McGrath, we've got Todd McAllister and Ryan Marsh of On Stage Inc. It's going to be a great event like always. It looks like most of you aren't going, which I understand, especially since this is a newbie webinar. I get that it's something very expensive to take on, but I will tell you that every new stager we've ever talked to who goes to RISACon says that it was probably one of the best decisions they've ever made, just because it's a lot of education packed into a very small amount of time.
It opens up your eyes to the possibilities. And I would beg, borrow, and steal the money to get there. You need to go at least once to be able to understand a better perspective of what it is you want to do. And you'll be so motivated by the people who are doing it and have done it and are sharing that information with you. All these questions that you've asked tonight expanded out into sessions with people who've been in business for 20 years. You can't really afford not to do it. You can't really afford not to do it. You owe it to yourself. Find a way, hitch a ride, share a room, sell something. Everything's in perspective. I don't see anything at all. You can afford everything. There's all the money in the world. You just have to find a way. So find a way.
Well, on that note, I think that is a good ending place. Make sure if you haven't signed up or if you're on the fence about RisaCon, go to risaconvention.com, take a look. It really is probably one of the best decisions you'll make if you decide to go. And then again, I want to thank Christine Rae of CSP for coming on and guest hosting today and answering all of your questions. And we will be sending a replay out in a few hours. And I hope you guys all have a great rest of your day and a lovely weekend.
Hey, Jacqueline, you should send that blog I wrote for, all the reasons why you need to go to RISA.
Oh, yeah, I can send that as well.
All right. Good night, everybody. Good luck.